I'm Mary Jo Daniel. I'm the director of the Faculty Research Development Office here on main campus. And I think I've probably corresponded with a couple of you in my previous role with New Mexico EPSCoR. So I've transitioned, and now I'm here on main campus. And today I'm going to talk just for a few minutes about how we organize research support service here on main campus. And you can think about what pieces of it might be applicable for you in your setting as you're trying to build research capacity. And then Vanessa's going to talk to you about a specific tool that you all have access to for finding opportunities. And we'll look at two specific solicitations just in terms of what to look for eligibility. So here on main campus, we have my office, Frodo, Faculty Research Development Office. I know we're thinking about having round doorways and shoes that curl and things like that. And then we have a network of folks who are out in the colleges, in the departments in the colleges. And they have different roles. And depending on where they're at, they can do different things to support PIs in getting a proposal in through the UNM process and having one be complete and successful and hopefully funded by the end of it. So at the department or college level, and it depends on the department whether they have somebody who has these dedicated responsibilities or if it's just at the college level, they can help with finding funding resources. And so the tool that we use here primarily for that is Pivot. And that's what Vanessa's going to walk you through a little bit on. Ooh, sorry. I did, and they went away, but I'll just make them up. She had the slide, so I thought she'd made it tricky, that things would pop up. So now you get it out of my brain. So they help with finding funding resources, and they can also help navigate the process. So you spend a lot of time hearing about CAUs from ISELA and the whole UNM main campus process. Well, the folks at the department and college level can help facilitate that. So the PI has some support, that somebody they can go to help navigate the budget, help navigate that CAUs process. It still does, of course, have to go to OSP. You've probably heard that once or twice today. But we have found in research active departments, they need somebody who can provide a little bit of support. So again, this is thinking about what you might need in your setting. They can also help do the budget and get the information and collect some of the ancillary documents, things like CVs and current and pending and things like that that you might need for a proposal to a federal agency. Beyond the department level, the college level people can also help primarily with learning about what the priorities are across departments within a whole college, so perhaps across a whole branch. And then we meet as a group to form what we call a network. And at the network level, we work to support each other, so to balance workloads, which did show up, and also to find where there might be possibilities for collaboration and building partnerships across departments. We can also help with cross-training because as a group, we have different skill sets and different experience, and so we can help support each other in that way. So that's the structure that we have on main campus to work with the departments and colleges here on main campus. In terms of supporting the branches, we are not set up to provide that same level of support to the branches. That's something you need to do within your own community and within your own campus. But if you have questions about things that we've learned, lessons learned, things that you need, if you are at the point of hiring somebody new, we're happy to consult with you about that and to point you in the direction of some different resources that you might avail yourself of. One of the tools that you do have access to that we do point to, and we also work with Vanessa in terms of training, is using Pivot. And that is where she's going next, to show you how to use Pivot, which is a database of funding opportunities. And it's global. It pulls all kinds of information. And anybody with a UNM email address can access it. So this is something you can do, your PIs can do, and other people on your staff can do. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa.
All right, so Pivot is like Mary Jo said, it's a database where you can actually search for funding opportunities, foundations, grants, private solicitations. You can also search researcher profiles. So each faculty profiles from UNM have been preloaded. If the faculty have claimed their profiles and they've filled out their information, you can see who's interested in what kind of research arena or research area. You can save your searches and you can actually get email updates about any changes in those opportunities. And then you can also share what you found with other people who are using Pivot, or if you have a person or a PI that's like, I hate the internet and everything in it, but I do want to know what kind of opportunities are out there, you can send them an email. Okay, that kind of doesn't work. So you can print out the opportunity and give it to them in person. Otherwise, if they're tech savvy, you can send them an email even if they don't want to use Pivot. But that puts a lot of stuff on you, so your call. So how to log into Pivot. You have to have a UNM email address. You have to create your own account, but as long as you have your email address and you create your own account, then you can actually log into the system. There are instructions on screen. I'm not going to go through them, but once you have your credentials, you just click the login button, type in your username and password. It's usually your full UNM email address and then the password that you provide. It's not linked to your UNM.id. You click login and then you get to this funding opportunity page and you can search the database. So doing a quick search is like the easiest thing to do in the world. It's kind of like a Google search. So you'll type in, say, RUI for and Mary Jo will go into that acronym, what that spells out to. But you type in a term or a keyword into this box here, and then you'll get results popping up in the main screen. If you find that 4 results is way too many and you just want to see 1, you can narrow down your search even more very quickly by clicking on these sort criteria. So how many of you do online shopping? And you can like search by dress size, color, male, female, gender, very, very same concept. So let me go back. So say you find, oh, this looks like a promising opportunity. You want to see a little bit more about that opportunity. You click on the link. I know, click here. It doesn't say click here, but it says the title, and you're in a pretty secure place, so it should be okay. Click on the title of the opportunity, and that will open up what Pivot has pulled from the website or from the agency. And you'll see some couple things that I want to point out. You'll see the title of the opportunity, a link to that website. You'll see eligibility criteria, and then you'll also see deadlines. Mary Jo will go into some of the specifics and some of the details that you actually have to pay attention to, but this is a great place for you to see at a glance what you're getting yourself, or what you could be getting yourself into. Within Pivot, you can actually track or save your opportunities. So if you find that this is something that you want to look at, but you just don't want to look at it right now because you may have passed the deadline, you can track this opportunity and see the upcoming changes within the next year. Then again, you can share your opportunity from this screen right here. So I know that's a lot of information, but Pivot actually has a lot of resources available to you. So within the screens, it doesn't show it here. Oh, actually, yeah. So you'll see search tips. You'll see like a link called View Tutorial. It'll actually take you to their help desk, and they have a bunch of articles that detail like what you can do, like instructions, detailed instructions on how you can navigate their system and also work with their links and stuff. If you're more of a visual learner, audio-visual learner, they actually have YouTube tutorials. So they go screenshot by screenshot, mouse point by mouse point, or click. And then there's a quick start guide. So if you've heard of Pivot, you're like, okay, great, this is awesome, but how do I get started? There's a quick start guide, which I highly recommend. It'll take you through the steps of creating your account, logging into the system, doing a quick search, doing an advanced search, running, saving your searches, updating your profile, a whole bunch of things, all in like a 3-pager. So that's Pivot. And we're going to go into a, oh, any questions? Sorry. No, it's actually, you just type in pivot. Yeah, so in a web browser, you just type in pivot.cos.com and that will open up a page. Do you want me to go through a live demo?
No.
Okay. All right, so then I'll hand it over to Mary Jo. Excuse me. And let's pretend like we clicked on an opportunity that we want to look at.
So the thing about pivot, if you're like me, never read instructions. You don't have to with pivot. Once you get your account, you can just click around. You're not going to break anything. You're not going to go down some security dangerous kind of place. And you're looking for external funding. Hopefully you have an idea for what you want that funding. I want to either fund this cool project idea I have for my teaching. I have an idea I want to develop this public outreach. I have an idea I want to do some research. Whatever it is, you figure out what the key ideas are that you're going after, and you use those keywords and you search on them. And it will give you a bazillion opportunities, and then you can filter it. You can say, well, no, I don't really care about the things that are for government agencies. I want only things that are for academic institutions. And there's many, many parameters you can put in there in terms of timing and money and location. And those are the searches. When you find one that's generating the kinds of things you're really interested in, you can save that search. And anytime there's a new opportunity that fits those parameters, you'll get a notice. You'll get an email notice from Pivot. So it's really quite helpful. You can also make it as broad as you could possibly imagine, and you'll end up with a bazillion you can spend the rest of your life looking at. That's the one I want to start with. So let's say you decide I have some research I want to pursue with my undergraduate students, and you've put in the parameters to get Pivot, and it spits out this NSF solicitation. This is facilitating research at primarily undergraduate institutions. And we're going to take just a couple minutes to look at this, and this could be applicable to many of you depending on what your focus is. Have any of you ever applied for one of these? Okay. So there's actually two different kinds of awards. If you look up at the top, there's research in undergraduate institutions and research opportunity awards. And the solicitation is going to go through and describe both of these. A couple of things to keep in mind as we go through. The solicitation number, NSF 14-579, those first two digits have to do with the fiscal year this came out in. So if you come up with one that's like a 00, chances are really good that's been archived and superseded by something. And on the NSF website, it will tell you that, but just something to be aware of. And so this is from the National Science Foundation, which means that there's a lot of pieces and parts to it. And it's not simple, and the funding rates are low. So you have to know that you're getting into that to begin with. Right here, it says full proposal deadline. The next line's really key. In this case, proposals are accepted anytime. So you can be working on these anytime. The trick about these specific awards is that you have to be working with a particular research director in the National Science Foundation. So if you want to do something in biology, you need to talk to that program officer, because there's not a separate pool of money. Each directorate has some money for these programs. And so that's why it says submission deadlines vary by program. So you have to reach out to the program officer. And if you are going for funding, for grants, for foundations, for anything, it's not a bad thing to see if your idea has any merit before you go too far. To pitch an idea to a program officer, and if they say, no, we don't have anything that is suitable for that funding, you don't waste a lot of time. Slight segue, or bird walk. I wanted to mention, in addition to Pivot, the foundation, the UNM Foundation, also has a whole host of resources for finding funding. They have a person on staff whose job is to find funding from non-public funders. So corporations or private foundations, and they do work with the branches, all of the branches. So and I talked to them this morning, and they say they are more than ready to respond to any requests for information that they get from you. Okay, so then there's some revision summary, which we don't have to go through right now, But general information, and there's a synopsis of the program. This is really key. You need to see if this actually does match what you want to do. They're talking about PUIs, primarily undergraduate institutions. That's you. These are any academic institution that gives, whatever, there's another word for that, fewer than 20 PhDs a year. As long as you have associate's degree programs, bachelor's degree programs, or master's, you're one of these. So you would qualify. And the idea of this is to support, there's two different flavors, support research on your campus with undergraduate students, and to support your faculty who have research interests themselves and want to stay on the cutting edge of their field. So this money is available to work to support faculty who want to pursue a research agenda. There are no more hours in a day, but you can put in funding to do course buyout kinds of things in most cases. So it's one of those, there's no simple answers here. The other opportunity provides an opportunity for faculty at the undergraduate institution to basically do a collaboration and a semester abroad at a research institution. So these are just a couple of, these are the two different kinds of opportunities. So in looking at any solicitation, you've got to read to be sure that it matches what you want, and you have to be sure that you're eligible. So have we gotten to the eligibility? I haven't been watching you scrolling. There, eligibility information. All NSF solicitations have almost the same structure, and there's a section on eligibility information. On any solicitation, you've got to look at this before you waste a lot of time. And Pivot will have some eligibility information, but it's worth going one step further. And as I'm sure you've heard from Acela, you have separate DUNS numbers, so you can apply. You're separate from UNM, main campus, in terms of applying, even though you do go through OSP. So you check your eligibility. You're one of those, you can go for it. If it says you're only, it's only eligible for PhD granting institutions, not so. The other thing it says is limit on number of proposals per organization. In this case, there are no restrictions. So you could submit as many of these as you want to. Sometimes it will say that only one per institution can be submitted. In that case, you need to have some sort of a limited competitions process. On main campus, my office manages that for main campus. But you would be separate institutions, so you would have to manage your own process to decide, okay, there's 3 faculty who want to go after this same award. We can only submit 1. How are we going to decide the process for that? And again, if you had questions on how to set something like that up, we'd be happy to help. And then the solicitation goes on and on. For all NSF solicitations, if you're not aware, there is also a proposal preparation guide, which is absolutely key for knowing how to write a proposal that will actually get reviewed and not returned without review. And it is not a slender document. There's a lot of stuff in there. And so you have to work with that document, and then solicitations may have some additional requirements or parameters that will supersede the proposal guide. The other one I wanted to take a look at, ATE, again, you see the solicitation number. It tells you which one it's replacing. The structure is very similar. This does have a proposal deadline, and we just went by one, but it's going to come up in another year. And this advanced technological education is really supporting technician programs at 2-year schools, and New Mexico has gotten several of these in the past. So if you do set up a search in Pivot, one of the things Pivot will do is send you a reminder saying this is going to be coming up in 3 months or whatever their time frame is, so that you don't necessarily have to remember. Pivot will remember for you and send you a notification. And then again, you've got the synopsis of the program, focus on 2-year schools. It talks about the importance. And that's the kind of language, when you're writing the proposal, you want to be using very similar language, so that if they say our priorities for this program are X, Y, and Z, somewhere in your proposal, X, Y, and Z are very explicit. And then we got award information. Who may submit proposals is the eligibility again. And here there is an additional requirement that if you've had one in the last 10 years, you're not eligible. So you have to know your institutional history a little bit as well, or be able to find that out. So NSF has a very similar structure for all of their solicitations. NIH looks very different, but they'll have similar kinds of information somewhere in there. If you're dealing with small foundations or corporate, they may not have any of this very clearly specified. And that's where you really have to take the time to look at it, to look at what's been funded before to see if you seem to be fitting in within the same scope. NSF will show you what's been funded, and you can look to see if what you're talking about seems to be in that same ballpark. And those are the kinds of things you just need to take the time up front so that you don't end up chasing a rabbit that's going the wrong way. And these take a lot of time to put together. So that's all I wanted to take the time to talk a little bit about the solicitations and Pivot's a resource. And do you have any questions at this point? Stunned. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.